Hello, everybody. Again, I'm Yvette Caceres-Willis with Pro Sports Assembly, and this is Corrine.
Hi. Oh, it's too dark. It's too dark. Here I am. We're professional.
We would like to welcome you and thank you for joining today. I know we have some Pro Sports Assembly members, and we have some Pro Sports Assembly guests here today with us, and we're so happy that you can join us. We're thrilled to be with our partner, the Female Quotient, to talk about the Equity Assessor. In our opinion, it is the most valuable benefit that we have for our members. It's a great start to your journey, or a continuation of where you are, and kind of identifying the gaps on where we're all trying to be. And I want to encourage everybody today to just really ask a lot of questions, listen, so that you can set your one-on-one time with the Female Quotient to get the Equity Assessor going. There is a couple of months left on the license, so the sooner the better. But on behalf of Pro Sports Assembly, Laura couldn't be with us here in Los Angeles, but we are thrilled. We thank you for your membership, and we thank you for your consideration if you are interested in learning more and becoming a member. But a special thanks to I've given everybody initials: OG, MJ, CJ, our members for doing this, and for Amber from the Female Quotient to lead the discussion today. But I'm going to let her take it from here. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Evie, thank you so much. This is going to be a wonderful discussion. I cannot wait. I do want to level set and just let everyone know that although Morgan and OG and CJ are going to be, they're going to be like leading this discussion alongside me. We want this to be a group conversation. So, please make sure that if you have questions as we go along, or if you hear anything that piques your interest, feel free to raise your hand or just unmute and ask the questions. We want to make sure that everyone leaves with all of the information necessary to be successful and feel awesome and feel great. All right. With that said, I am Amber with the Female Quotient. I am so delighted to be joined by Morgan and OG and CJ. I would love for each of you to go around and share a little bit about who you are and what you do at your organizations. And then we'll do a little icebreaker. So we'll start with OG since he unmuted first.
Morning, everyone. My name is Horacio Galindo, or as everybody refers to me, OG. I've been with the Los Angeles Rams since 2016. The team moved from St. Louis to LA, have been part of the executive team in helping them grow the organization since 2016. I'm essentially responsible for anything within a human resources capacity, from sourcing, recruiting, developing, rewarding, engaging with our staff. And so I'm happy to be part of the call and share sort of my experience with all of you today.
Awesome. Thanks so much. CJ.
I'm CJ, or Christina. There just happens to be two Christinas in HR at the 49ers, so I go by CJ. I am pronoun she, her. I'm the Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion here at the 49ers. This is my first season. Been in San Francisco for much longer than that, but I'm very excited to be here, very excited to lead everything to do with diversity, equity, inclusion, wherever that touches within our organization. So it's an amazing organization, and I actually love being here and having this conversation with us today. So thanks for having me.
Wonderful. All right, Morgan, last but not least.
Hello, everyone. My name is Morgan Jones, or you can call me MJ. Stay in alignment with our initials here. I'm actually originally from Los Angeles, so I'm really excited to share this panelist experience with fellow Californian family, new family here. But I work with the San Antonio Spurs. I've been with the organization for 7 years, starting off on our learning and development team with our corporate university, where I was developing curriculum and facilitating a lot of our core classes around leadership, diversity and inclusion, and team building. And then now currently I'm our Senior Manager of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Strategy. So looking at our entire organization and truly making sure that DEIB is integrated into the fabric of who we are.
Excellent. All right, and since we have like a relatively intimate group, I would love to know who each and every one of y'all are and who you are with and what you do. So let's go around super quickly, right? We want to pass the ball very quickly around. So I'm going to start with Darren. If you could just share just who you are, where you're with, and what you do.
Hi, my name is Darren Sudman. I am an outsourced CSR consultant working with Jessica and the National Lacrosse League.
Awesome. All right, Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica Berman. I think, one of the founding advisory board members, I think is our technical board title, but recently got around to officially joining as an organization and actually here as a listener and a learner to understand what the Equity Assessor does and see if it's something that makes sense for our organization.
Awesome. Glad to have you both here. Susanna.
Hi there. My name is Susanna Wolf. I am with Austin FC. So was part of, have been with the club since 2019 as part of the opening of our stadium and of our club. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Glad you're here. Molly.
Hi, good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. Molly Wardak-Folt. I'm with newly rebranded Illich Sports and Entertainment as of yesterday. So we are the parent company for the Detroit Red Wings, Detroit Tigers, and a multitude of other brands that fall under that umbrella. I'm the Vice President of Partnership Activation across all of our owned and operated properties and our brands. Similar to Jessica, founding governing board member of Pro Sports Assembly, and also here to learn how the Equity Assessor works. Our organization is a member of Pro as well. So just sitting in and listening to see what I can learn.
Excellent. Awesome. Glad to have you, Dwayne.
Hi, I'm Dwayne. I'm with the San Antonio Spurs with MJ, staff accountant, and I'm just here to learn as much as I can and soak in as much information as possible.
Awesome. Glad to have you here. Iris.
Hey everybody, I'm Iris Diaz. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for the Dallas Mavericks. I've been here for going on my 4th season and looking to retire Dirk's jersey on January 5th. So, but I'm here for everything else too as well. Thank you. Very nice to meet you.
Great to have you. Brian.
Hello, everybody. Brian Richardson, Jr., Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Indianapolis Colts. Excited to support CJ and learn more about Pro. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Glad to have you here. Lindsay.
Lindsay Verstegen, I'm the Chief People and Diversity Officer for the Detroit Lions. So I've been in town for about 4 weeks, different than Molly, who I've met over email. Thanks to Pro Sports Assembly. And I'm also here just to listen and learn, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. Glad to have you. And also Paige, even though you're in the background.
Hi, yes, I'm Paige. I'm with the Female Quotient. I am listening in, and I'm also been accompanying Amber on the onboarding calls with the Female Quotient. So I'm super excited to have you all here and have you listening in and learning about this tool.
Excellent. All right, so it's just great to hear just who everyone is, what your backgrounds are. I'm going to drop in a nice little icebreaker in the chat. If you guys could if everyone could share, but then I'm going to ask CJ to share first. Imagine you are a professional sports player. What is your introductory song?
It's funny. This keeps coming up, and I guess I'm new to sports, so I guess this is the thing that people do. I actually used to play roller derby, and because I used to play roller derby, I'm going to say that my intro song was my old intro song, which was Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys. So I'm going to say that.
Yes, awesome. That was always on my volleyball mixtape. So yes, CJ, I'm with you. OG.
This was actually a tough question for me. So many songs came to mind when I was thinking of an appropriate answer, but some of the groups that come to mind are a little bit, around Public Enemy, Welcome to the Terror Dome, some Jay-Z, Dirt Off Your Shoulder, or, what's, close to my heart from a Latinx perspective, some Mark Anthony, Vivir Mi Vida.
Yes, I love it. I love it. MJ.
So this was an interesting question for me to think about, but it came very easily. Anything Beyonce. It could be a mixture of all her songs into one. I would go back out and come back out again to her songs.
Yes. Fantastic. Well, I encourage, so we have you here. I'm gonna ask a few of y'all here. Dwayne, how about you? What would be a song on your mixtape?
Mine is a little bit more home based. I'm from Louisiana, so it'd probably be anything Lil Wayne, Lil Boosie, something like that. Something a little ratchet, maybe a little
Nice.
something like that.
Yes, love it, love it. Darren, how about you?
I actually gave up my athletic career because I could not answer this question. But I'll go with Eminem, Lose Yourself.
Yes, that's another good one. Love it, love it. All right, I'm gonna ask one more person. If I haven't asked you, please drop them in the chat. All right, Susanna.
I think I'm with OG here. You're gonna have to go a little Latino on me. So something Bad Bunny like. It's a lot of good songs right now.
Excellent. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so very much for just opening up and sharing. Love all of the suggestions. So now I got a little bit of nostalgia myself. Well, let's get started talking about what the equity assessor is and what is needed to get started. But actually, let me dial it back. Let's talk a little bit first about like your pro membership, right? So like, what does that entail? Like, what has this experience been like for you to be a member of pro? OG, do you want to jump in first about just setting the table about what pro membership has been for you guys and what benefits you've gotten from it?
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit that I've received from being a member organ, and part of the governing board is access to people like you, right? And being able to share best practices, to understand that something that I may be experiencing, you are also experiencing yourself, and how can we sort of share with one another best practices to kind of move forward, our respective agendas. So I think the networking piece has been very, very key for me.
Awesome. Morgan or MJ, do you want to jump in?
Sure. So I had the pleasure of watching Pro grow. I worked really closely with Laura Dixon, who was one of the founding members. And so just kind of watching her to formulate and bring everyone together. And then we got connected with the Female Quotient through Laura and through our membership here. And having that partnership with the Female Quotient also gave us a set of memberships for our staff to be able to have access to. So it's been a really great resource for especially a lot of our newer staff to be able to make relationships, meet people, not just in the NBA, but across different sports industries. So it's been a great experience so far.
Yeah, I would go ahead and agree with both OG and MJ as saying like networking has been huge. And it was really important for me when starting in the organization to really just figure out ways for our employees to meet other people across different, the MLB, the NHL, all these other places that they're just not getting that kind of outward conversation. And so it's been really fun to watch them kind of connect to people and then even those of us also at the kind of like director level being able to meet with other people as well.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. I have a question just for the group, you can unmute or you can just drop in the chat. But those of you who are members already, other than what we've heard already, are there any other additional pro benefits that you would like to share? You can drop them in the chat or unmute, and I'll just wait a couple seconds. Okay, cool. We'll leave it for the chat.
I think some of the programming that we've rolled out to date has been really fantastic. For example, the Rise of Inclusive Leadership certificate and some of those other things have been a really great benefit. Our organization is maybe a couple steps behind some of the others as far as onboarding our individual members and getting them access. But personally, as an individual member, I know that's been really beneficial. And I know that programming material will continue to be of benefit to our members.
Thanks so much. Let's talk a little bit about like DEIB work, right? And why it's super important. But before we do that, Jessica, thank you so much for dropping in here. You just joined and started the onboarding process this week. So awesome. So let's talk a little bit about DEIB work, right? And like why this is so important. I'm going to start with you again, OG, just to kind of set the table around why this kind of work is important, why it's important for your organization to pursue this work, and why do you think that it's meaningful?
Yeah, that's a great question. I first and foremost, I feel very privileged to be part of the LA Rams. Growing up in Los Angeles, seeing the Raiders and the Rams, the Dodgers, the Lakers. Never in my life would have ever imagined working for a professional sports team. And as I kind of went through sort of my education and try to figure out where I wanted to work, never knew it was even possible to work in the sports industry. It just wasn't accessible to me. And as I think about sort of the work that we're doing and what we're trying to do in terms of giving people access, the Pro Sports Assembly really is a wonderful, wonderful organization, begins to do that. One of the things that historically we've seen, at least in the NFL, is a very male-dominated environment, right? And for us as an organization, we've been very intentional about widening the pool, about ensuring that we are getting the right people in the pipeline to be considered for the role. As a matter of fact, we've taken a very intentional effort behind hiring individuals with non-traditional sports experience. Try to break, a little bit of the rinse and repeat sort of strategies that I think a lot of teams utilize, where they say, well, that person did it at the, New England Patriots. Why don't we go hire and bring them back? And so we really try to be very thoughtful about diversifying the type of talent that we bring into the organization, because we believe that's important, because it creates creativity, creates good problem solving, and more importantly, it sort of advances us as an organization. So it is a very important piece. CJ talked about it earlier about kind of creating a fabric, having this be part of our normal business. And it should be, right? Oftentimes it's isolated as being something, out there that's unreachable. And it really isn't, right? If you really kind of break it down, it just comes down to, how are you treating employees from the beginning through the entire experience?
Awesome. Really, really appreciate that. MJ, do you want to jump in around why this work is just so important for your organization?
Yes, so it's been a part of our organization since its creation. If you know anything about our leadership team with RC Buford and even our head coach, Coach Pop, being so vocal about a lot of really important topics and making sure that we are always people first. But I mean, there's also a lot of research that we know out there, right? We know that heterogeneous teams outperform homogeneous teams. We know that investing in this space increases our innovation and our productivity. But really for us, it's more about that it's human work, right? It's caring about our people. It's being mindful about how we show up every single day, how we interact with each other, how we're being good stewards of our community. I think what's really unique about being able to work in a sports organization is that, yes, you have fans who are rooting for your team, but you also have a platform and a level of influence to be able to role model what an inclusive world could look like. What does inclusive behaviors look like? So I almost feel like it's our responsibility, right, for us to be involved in this work, not only because of what it can do for our business, but also because of who we have an opportunity to inspire and to influence. And especially in this present day where we have a lot of areas of opportunity in our world to be better, it's almost like a no-brainer for us to make sure that we are intentional and very purposeful in this work and thinking about how we show up inside our organization and outside as well.
Awesome. I just want to, before I go to CJ, thank you, Morgan, for that really thoughtful answer. Thank you, OG, also as well for setting the stage. Before we move on to CJ's answer to this question, I would love for any of you to drop in the chat, like why this work is important for your organization, or even like, other than curiosity, what brought you here, right? So if you guys could do that, and I'm gonna pass the mic to CJ to answer this question.
I mean, I have to answer after those two, but I will say, it's everything. It's like it's D all the above. Something that I say all the time that actually, OG started with was access and opportunity. I see my role as creating access and opportunity and equity. And I think that is what we're trying to do. I think that's what we're all trying to do, and and find where we can and figure out the pipeline in the more broad, but something that I'm really focused in on here is like our internship program. And anyone who knows me knows I'm obsessed, and that's because in order to create what OG and what MJ were talking about, we've got to and we got to start at the beginning and move it forward, and get those people who never thought they'd ever have a career in sport, and how we can help them figure out how to move and make their way through. Here at the 49ers, we always talk about how we can create fans for life. And if we're creating fans for life, we're creating that whether you get hired on with us or you don't. And so we are looking at how we can create, again, access and opportunity for the college students around us, the employees who are with us, and how to also educate our fans, how to educate our employees on what diversity, equity, inclusion actually means. And it's not just hire more Black people or more women. It's really how do we create equity across the board.
Love that. All right, so if there's anyone who hasn't spoken yet, who would love to just drop in more to this awesome, amazing question that we've already got really great answers to, please unmute. Feel free to also add, why DEIB work is, important for your organization, or why going on this journey is important for your organization. So I'll wait a couple seconds to see if we have any brave folks.
I can jump in here.
Awesome.
My name's Sydney McLean. I'm with the Dolphins. I am the chair of our D&I council here with the Dolphins. This has been really an important journey for us because we just started our D&I council and we're on term 2 right now. So we are in the process of really learning and growing as a council and really figuring out best practices. We've been doing a lot of guest speakers to have experts in this field really come and chat with our council so that we can be better equipped to speak and learn and grow with our employees in our organization. So that's kind of really where we're at right now. Our community relations team has done such an excellent job at really focusing on diverse groups within our community, but now we really want to make that an important focus of what's happening inside our building and with the employees that we have here. So I would say really that's kind of where we're at and the work that we're focusing on, and we're still in those preliminary phases of just learning as much as we can, but we're excited to really go all in and really make a very inclusive workplace within the Dolphins organization.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Sydney, welcome, because we missed you in the introduction. So thank you so very much for sharing. Anyone else before I move on to our next question? All right, cool. So now that we have kind of, set the tone of why this work is important, let's go into a little bit more about how do we pursue this kind of work and achieve goals and align them with strategic pillars, all of that awesome language that we have to, grapple with. So I would like to start with MJ, just, what is the Equity Assessor and, what is needed to get started?
The Equity Assessor is an amazing tool, and before I answer that, I'll kind of share to why we even wanted to use it and how that has helped us. So for us at the Spurs, our DEIB team was created last year as a means for us to formalize all the efforts that we've done for decades and being able to really figure out, okay, how do we enhance and elevate what we're doing? And so before we set goals and create a vision, because we can have 20 different visions of what we want this work to look like, we felt like it was important to make sure we got our own house in order and to actually do an audit and to evaluate where we currently are standing. So that way we know if we're here and we're trying to grow there, then we can create that roadmap to get us to that next level. And so having the Equity Assessor that allowed us to be able to really look closely at our data and look at the makeup of our organization. And so it looked at by race and by gender, by role, even areas that we didn't even think about to explore, like what does our bonus structure look like and how there may be equity challenges within that. And so being able to, one, have their template that FQ has, which was really easy to use, where no matter if you're like me and you're not that great at data, being able to have this template to be able to map out all the information that they need to be able to input it into the system, which I will share, I wasn't the one to input the information. I think it's important for me to share that because if you are in an organization where confidentiality is really important, we were able to do that in a way where because in my role, I'm not necessarily touching salaries or looking at that. I was able to work really closely with our HR department and our HR analytics manager to be able to partner with her in utilizing the template for the equity assessor for her to put it in. And she raved about it, how simple it was, because she's looked at a lot of different systems just in her experience. So I can just want to share how user-friendly that was and being able to help us to kind of look at different aspects. And I can dig in a little bit more, but I can pause there.
Awesome. No, I really, really appreciate that. And thank you for highlighting that, you know, for many of you, your role may or may not be getting into the nitty-gritty of data or getting into the nitty-gritty of salaries. So, you know, plugging in to the right person in your organization is really important in order to move forward and make it a successful experience. So Morgan, thank you so much for highlighting that, and as well as all the other things that you've shared. CJ, is there anything that you would like to sprinkle on top of this question in using the tool? And we'll obviously dive deeper, but just, you know, to get us started.
Sure. I am a part of the HR team, and so I do sit and look at salary. So I am in the nitty gritty. And so I was the person who put it in. Although we have someone who works on that and does all of our data for us, this was important for me to be able to actually like to do this piece myself. And so there was a little bit of a learning curve in me grabbing all that data, but to Morgan's point, it really was one of the simplest uploads I've ever had in my life. And so it was an amazing tool. The amount of data you can get is just, I've never had access to this level of data. And, you know, I've been doing data for a long time and I've never had this level. So yeah, so incredible tool, but, you know, it does take a minute, and I'm not going to like sit there and say it doesn't if you're the one actually inputting or grabbing all the data together.
Excellent. And can you talk a bit about just maybe even just share full transparency, some of the challenges? You did say there was a learning curve. So, you know,
I mean, first off, you know, you got to read the directions fully. And so sometimes you're just like, I've got it. It's fine. You got to read the directions. But once I realized I needed to take a minute, really understand what I was doing. And also, like, you know, there are things we call things internally. We just redid our entire compensation structure, plus all the naming of, you know, like, really just really understanding and digging in deep. And so we had to like, there's some titles and things that I had to kind of move around and really decide what that really was, if that was really a senior manager or a director, because it doesn't really line up. But other than that, you know, once I got through those little pieces, it was pretty simple after that. But it took me a couple of days to just compile all of the things in the way that you need to in the Excel file. But like now that I know how to do it, it won't take me as long. So I think initial setup was a lot, but I think again, though, once you upload that Excel file, it was instantaneous. And the amount of rich data was like, I mean, it made me forget about the hours I spent doing like the actual put in of the work. So.
A labor of love indeed. So, you know, not to discourage anyone, but, you know, making sure that before you pursue this process, that you're compiling everything in one place. And just also understand that the Female Quotient too is here to answer questions as you go along in this process to support you, because we want you to be successful. We want your results to be as clear and as factual as possible to help you, you know, figure out what are you going to do next, right? So in talking about next steps, you know, let's talk a little bit about like results that you gain from the platform and from the experience. And let's talk about like if there were any results that were surprising for you or any takeaways that you guys had that you're willing to share, you know, and what fields possibly were even extremely valuable to you. So like share a little bit about, you know, what did you get back and how did you apply that to your work? And so, you know what, I'll start with CJ first since I started with Morgan first the last time.
I think that the most important thing is kind of, I mean, I think we all kind of even talked about it before, was just really what was surprising was the equity, understanding that it's not just equity of pay, it was equity of pay like spliced with like ethnicity. It's like understanding like, and then that you could take that you can be like, oh, well, what about like, how much do like, let's just say like Latinx men, you know, like, or like Black women, you can literally splice it down to that amount. And that was incredible. And also, I would say the other piece was being able to then also do it by age group, being able to see what Xers make to millennials and all these other things was really quite like, it's just a level that you're like, oh, that's something I need to look at. And like, you're like, I got to remember to like have that conversation about what we're doing and how we're looking at age as a level of that I think we weren't looking at so specifically before, but is important.
Excellent. Thank you so very much for that. MJ, any insights that you'd love to share with the group about results and how it supported your work, or surprises you got, or anything like that?
Yes, I definitely agree with CJ, being able to see all of the different intersections of what equity could look like. I thought it was also really cool that it was eye-opening, so cool, but yet surprising, that it helped us to understand where we could potentially fall in the motherhood penalty trap, and to be really careful with that. And so I say surprising because we are a family-oriented organization, and you know, we try to be flexible with our schedules and like being able to balance work and family. And so to see that, hey, you know, if you don't be careful, that you could potentially trend this way, that was a little bit surprising, but yet still really amazing for us to be able to see that, right? Because we talk about it, but now we have the data to be able to support what that could potentially look like if we don't get ahead of it. But then also able to see, even when we went through the results with the data team, which they are fantastic and know this space very well. We asked them a lot of questions, but it also led us to dig in a little bit deeper to where we're like, okay, well, what does equity look like from non-revenue generating roles to revenue generating roles? And then what does it look like from blue collar roles to white collar roles? So it invited us to dig even deeper, because the thing about data is that it tells us a lot, but until you look at the outliers or you really look even closer, it could potentially tell a false story or a more amplified story. And so it helped us to really figure out, okay, where can we maybe start to look in a little bit closer, and then kind of moving across the board so that we truly understand what does our makeup of equity look like and where we should be focusing our efforts. So it's just amazing to see that this template of information that we input in the system, what it gave back out to us, as CJ mentioned, it was phenomenal. And now it's like, okay, where do we start? There's so many things we want to look at. So it was great.
Awesome. Excellent. I want to ask all three of you just about how we get buy-in in our organizations before I ask more questions about the tool itself, right? Like all of y'all are here. It's amazing, right? We would love to have so many other organizations here with us today. You know, can we talk a bit about like, how do you get buy-in to just pursue this kind of work? You know, not everyone's organization is super excited to know where the work needs to be done, right? So how would you pursue that? Anyone want to start? Anyone want to share any tactics or strategies?
I mean, look, it's certainly a commitment you have to make. And I think getting the executive group to be fully aligned to what you're trying to do is very important. It shouldn't be an HR experience. It should be a business experience. It's something that we want to do because it's the right thing for the business. You know, data helps. Certainly analysis, insights, you know, anything that can help the organization be better, you know, is useful in getting that buy-in from an executive group. For us, data has been very instrumental, right? It's sort of the cornerstone that sort of drives what we do. You know, I oftentimes will say, you know, to our ID council, our Inclusion and Diversity Council, what do you know, what is it that you're solving for, right? If you haven't even done the assessment. Once you've done the assessment, you have an understanding of some of the gaps and opportunities, then you can really make the pitch for the resources and the programs that you need and you want to solve that problem.
Awesome. I was on mute and was like, yes, keep going. Sorry, OG. Appreciate. So Morgan and CJ, I'm gonna ask you a different question. OG, that was awesome. So sometimes we're not all speaking the same language when it comes to DEIB work, right? So we got to do getting the whole buy-in as well as translation. So, do you guys have any best practices for communicating the results that you received in your organization or throughout your organization or to leadership? Who wants to go first? You can unmute.
I'll go. I am always telling a story. I'm telling a story with my data. I'm telling a story with the conversations. I'm using the data to double down or dispel a myth. I think when I first came on, there was this idea of who was in our organization and where they were, and being able to take the data and the demographics and say, actually, that's not where we are. I think there was a really interesting thing about data, really quick story. There was an idea around hiring that we were really high in a very specific ethnicity. What actually was the case was that when we actually broke it down by level, we were actually that group was really well represented in leadership, but not in full staff. And so what it was doing was causing people to think in their biased brain, I'm not going to look at more of this specific ethnicity because we already have so many. We have so many of that group. So it was causing people to do an interesting thing in their brain about that particular group. And I could sit there and tell the entire organization that's actually not the case. What you're looking at is because you can see more, you think there are more of them, but actually they're the same amount as every other group. And so it was great. And it was the use of data in a way that really did tell a story and dispel a myth, and also show people that they should stop making assumptions about certain groups. And so to me, that is how you take what we're doing. I got buy-in from my entire organization because I could show them that the entire organization was having a false narrative about something. So that's just really what I think, being able to talk everyone's language and talk at a level where we're all talking at having the same conversation.
I appreciate that. Thank you so very much. MJ.
I agree with CJ. Storytelling is really key. I know that we also break up our audiences. So we usually start with our senior leadership team first, and we have a conversation with them about the results. And we're talking about the results as it relates to our overall strategy. We have our Vision 2025, which is our roadmap for the next 5 years of where we're trying to grow. And so helping them to understand how these results will help us to move forward in that Vision 2025 plan. And then we talk to our mid managers and we're having that conversation. Now it's from the lens of, here are the results, here's what we found, and how can you use this to empower your staff? And then we go and we talk to all staff and we have a different conversation of hey, this is where we're at as an organization. How do we show up for each other? But then how do you manage up as well too, where there's opportunities to do that? But then also the Female Quotient was really integral in helping us and partnering with us to share the results. So we had them on some of the calls as well, and then helping us to use certain graphics and images. One of the tools is the change agent map that helped us to understand where we kind of fall as far as our level of buy-in, and then mapped against our engagement. And that was really great because that's now new language for us that we weren't using before, but it was something that everyone can wrap their mind around. We all know what it means to be a change agent to a certain degree. And so it's okay, now I can actually pinpoint where my level of change agentness falls into. So being able to break it down by audiences, utilizing the language that we already have to connect that data to that, and then in partnership with the Female Quotient, that really helped us to make sure that when we shared the results, it was clear, concise, and received well.
Awesome. Thank you all so very much, because often lots gets lost in translation. So it's really important that once we get results, once we have our data, that we're able to communicate and get everybody on board so that we can actually make the impact that we want to see. So I appreciate you all for that. I do want to open it just to see if anyone has questions for Morgan or CJ about their experience using it before I move on to our next set of questions. Okay, cool. All right, so the next question that I have is for everyone here, right? What questions do you have about using or assessing equity? So any questions that you have about assessing equity that you guys want to ask either us at the Female Quotient or ask, OG, MJ, or CJ, or each other. Any questions that you guys have about assessing equity?
I could chime in here. I think we actually have one-on-one time scheduled tomorrow, so maybe we could take it offline. And I was kind of confused because I had 3 pro calls on my calendar today and tomorrow, and I wasn't sure what agenda was for what call. But really, my question is really just to dive into the platform, the tactics, like what would actually be required, what information is collected, what is the output, what are the expectations that flow from that, what happens to the data. But perhaps those are more tactical questions that we can review tomorrow.
Yeah, we can totally review them tomorrow, but I'm going to put my colleague on the spotlight. Paige, I'm going to have you share just really briefly, just to give everyone a taste, because folks who are watching this later are going to probably have that same question. So Paige, if you could give everyone just a brief taste in response to Jessica's question about what's collected, what happens to the data. Do you mind sharing with the group?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. So just for everyone here, if you have not had an onboarding call with the Female Quotient yet, we'd love to speak to you. So please just drop in chat or we'll reach out after this call. We'd love to speak with you. So basically with this equity assessor, the way you're going to start is you're just going to get a form. You're going to fill out that form. You're going to create an account. It's all secure. Your data is totally private. We can't access it. It's all encrypted. So your data is for your eyes only. From there, we're going to send you a form that goes into the job summary and understanding of kind of a breakdown of your employees and where they are just in terms of different variables and how you want to categorize them so the tool can understand. From there, you're also going to get a sample template, an Excel template, and you're just going to upload your employee data. As CJ said, you're just going to go that through and assign those variables according to our sample template. And then from there, you're going to upload it into the tool. And then from there as well, you'll see the tool really breaks down according to different demographic factors, gender, race, all of those factors that are super important, and really gives you a breakdown of where your diversity is and where you could be lacking.
Thank you so much, Paige. And Jessica, we will go much deeper with you in our one-on-one tomorrow. As with anyone who sets up a call with us, we will take a deep dive, answer all the questions that you guys have, just to make sure that you are comfortable with using the tool and all your questions were answered.
And we also do have, I just want to mention as well, we do have a full course with Pro. So I will drop that in chat right now. That goes through every step of the way, collecting your data, actually understanding your data, breaking it down, and putting in the tool and how you can expect to see those results as well.
Excellent. Are there any other questions that the group has before I ask my next question of you all? Any other questions about using the tool either for the Female Quotient or for Morgan and CJ that have come up for you guys throughout this discussion?
I had a quick question. So for those who've done it, since this will be relatively new for us in our organization, how did you prime your organization for another survey, right? And particularly a survey that's centered around equity. we talk salary, but how do you get people to talk about it? And how do they buy into it? So you get the yield on the responses.
Morgan or CJ?
Yeah, I can chime in here. So for us, we just connected it back to, hey, we're trying to grow. We want to enhance in this space, and your voice is important in this process for us to be able to figure out either what new programs need to grow out of this, what new practices need to grow, or policies. So I think helping our staff to see the bigger picture and the vision of why we were using it, help them to buy in. And then for us, we did it in a two-part process. So the first part was around using the Equity Assessor, and that didn't necessarily involve any of our staff. It was just in partnership with our HR team. And then that second phase for us was around key stakeholder interviews. So we broke down, I shared with Female Quotient, like our overall strategy of how we're approaching this work. And we broke down like small groups based off of that. And so, oh, bless their heart, they talked to a lot of our staff, but it was, they talked to like over 50 employees. But we made sure to have a conversation with those that participated in those small focus groups to let them know that we really just want your insight. And we weren't present, like the deep team wasn't present, HR wasn't present. So we wanted them to truly feel safe, like they can share whatever was on their heart. And that's kind of how we approached it.
CJ?
I would say similar. I would say the thing about our organizations, they've been pushing for it. I mean, you know, it's very awesome that, you know, San Francisco is San Francisco. So it's San Francisco. So people are, you know, it was on our yearly survey. What about pay equity? What about this? What about that? And so, you know, I came into an organization that was primed and ready for this conversation. And it's really just now taking the data again and just figuring out like what the conversation really needs to be.
Awesome.
I would also add, you know, from our perspective, you know, 82% of our staff are millennials. It's a natural question for them. They want to know. And so for us, it just makes the conversation easier. We just have to be very clear of packaging the information in a way that clearly articulates the right message, because compensation can be so personal and can create unintended consequences if not communicated correctly, right? So that would be the only challenge, right? And bit of caution that I would say before you proceed with that is that you be prepared for those discussions and you take the time to educate people about what you're trying to do.
And I wanted to, can I double down on that and say, I think that's the piece that, you know, we are also running into is just in general, is just how to really help them articulate all the pieces of DEI, but especially compensation and really understanding what this work actually means. I think we keep going back to that of what this work actually means. And so I think that is where the compensation conversation, that is what our job is to really just to help them translate this into work not right is the wrong word. It's just helping them translate this in a way that's actually productive.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. And Brian, thank you for your question. Jessica, thank you for your question. Question I have for the group are, what are the barriers and challenges or even hesitancy that you may be experiencing when it comes to either accessing the PRO Equity Assessor or, you know, pursuing this work? So this is for everybody. You know, what are the barriers, the challenges, and even the hesitancy that come up? Please unmute.
I think for us, there has been hesitancy to utilize this program specifically just because I've spoken to our HR team and they've mentioned that they do their own audit. So I think that's just been the only hesitancy that I've received on my side of moving forward with this. So I think that any and all information that I can just gain, maybe I can look on that training that was mentioned is on the Pro Assembly website just to learn more. And then that way I'm better equipped to discuss with our HR HR team. But I'd love to hear from CJ, since you're in the HR field, like what did you guys ever do your own internal audit like this from an HR department before you utilize this program? And what was the benefits of utilizing this program opposed to doing your own?
Sure. They'd done a preliminary audit, but I think the thing about the female quotient is it's the level of detail. There's no way to get this level of detail that I've been able to see in conjunction with Pro Sports Assembly. Like that package deal was like really incredible. Had we not had that, I don't know, we would have known. I mean, I've heard, of course, of female quotient, but being able to hear like really like down and like get down into the pieces was something that I didn't even know existed in to this level of detail. We do our own demographic data, so we use this in conjunction with other things, but the fact that we can get this level from the minimal effort, because that's another piece, like we're all small teams. This was not something that would have been high on the list of things to get done. And also we would have had to lean on our analytics team to make this happen. And again, that's allowing people to have access to data that I was not comfortable letting. I mean, they're very good people. I love them. They're awesome. But I don't want my analytics team having that level of data about our other employees, especially compensation. So it is understanding the limits of energy, time, and security, and also just in conjunction with the level of detail that we were able to pull.
No, that's super helpful. Thank you for sharing that. And then is utilizing this program just a part of our Pro Assembly membership, or is there an additional cost to utilizing it?
This program is part of your membership. So, I would highly suggest, everybody jump in and, give it a stab and like throw some stuff in there and get started because this comes with your membership. So thank you for asking that question. Appreciate it. I want to make sure, do you have any follow-ups or anything like that? Okay, awesome. Anyone else have any questions around or want to share anything about barriers, challenges, and hesitancy?
Do you guys just mind sharing a little bit about like where does the benchmark data come from? Just to kind of give us that background that maybe, I wouldn't say that we're hesitant about it. I'm sure as everybody in this call has also gotten the feeling that time is a constraint. We're coming off our first season. We get 2-month-ish break before we start a new season. So it feels like we're running a marathon and then going to go run another marathon, which, I'm a team of one. So it's tough, but, just to say, what is the background of the benchmark data and what are we, when we do this, understanding what we're seeing our data being compared to.
I can answer that. Initially, the benchmark is just within your organization, right? You're really just doing a analysis of the data that you provided. And, CJ and Morgan talked a lot about this, looking at intersectionality of that data. And so that's really what you're benchmarking. Now, from a pro sports assembly perspective, with more contribution, more data, more collected data, we're then able to look at insights from an industry perspective. But initially, as it pertains to you, right, and what you're able to see, it's just a benchmark of yourself and how you sort of stand out from an equity perspective internally.
Got it. So I guess, yeah, just to rephrase the question, we haven't gotten to a place where there's enough data industry-wide to compare and contrast and do any of it.
That's correct. We're a year in as a member organization, right? The more folks that contribute to this, the better data we have then to be able to educate, to provide tools, right? To advocate for change, right? Within the industry. Right. So that's how you're helping the organization and the industry. But as it relates to your organization, right, it's really just benchmarking yourself.
Yeah, and I can chime in here too, because for our leadership team, they really wanted us to as we were evaluating ourselves, part of our ask of Female Quotient was like, who are the businesses that are out there that are doing this work really well? And so they did share a few really good case studies with us. And as we went through our results, we did refer back to some of that information too. So between the Female Quotient team and then their data team that I believe Amber is in the UK, right, is where they're located. They have a wealth of knowledge and a lot of resources and a lot of data out there. So if there are specific things that you want to benchmark against, as OG mentioned, as we're like growing in this space, they do have some things that are really good to help to start off with to look at.
Thank you, guys.
Excellent. All right, so we are nearing the hour of awesomeness together. We have about 2 minutes left. I want to make sure that if anyone has a question for the group, please right now ask it or drop it in the chat. So I'm just gonna wait a couple seconds awkwardly. Okay, all right, awesome. Well, before I turn it over to Corinne, I just want to personally thank each and every one of you guys for this opportunity to hang out. I'm a former college athlete, so I love hanging out with folks who work in the sports industry. It always lifts my spirit. This is the best part of my day, other than hugging my kids in the morning. I want to thank MJ, OG, and CJ for your time and for your expertise and being, vulnerable and sharing your experience with all of us. It has been super informative. Thank you all so very much. And thank you, Paige, for dropping in that information about how to use the tool. Over to you, Corinne. Thank you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, I'm not Evie. Sorry, technology, but I could be Evie. Thank you all again for taking the time to learn more about this tool, whether you're a member or not. This information is necessary to identify as an industry how to move forward. So we greatly appreciate you taking advantage. I put in the chat an overview of the Equity Assessor. So it should come through as an attachment. You can take a look at that. If you're a member of Pro Sports Assembly, it's included in the hall resources. There's some videos that OG did. He was amazing. But that really kind of breaks the tool down and provides a little bit more color to what was brought up today. So if you can take a look at that, I know for those who are guests of Pro and in your follow-up with Evie, if you're interested in getting some of those resources, let us know. But I'm excited again for the attention that was provided today for this tool. It's something we want to see a lot more of our members engaged with as a part of their benefit. Hit me up if you need anything. Hit the Female Quotient up if you need anything, if you know what I mean. But thank you again. Enjoy your Taco Tuesday. Please get some tacos for me. Thanks.